So one question I'm asked about a lot is, hey, why don't you just start your own business? A lot of people are fond of this idea of the entrepreneur, especially in the trades. As in, why why should you give your money to somebody else? In other words, you're doing the labor, but you're giving some of the money that's earned from that labor to a company that you work for, to a service that you contract with. And on the surface, it seems to make sense, where you think, well, I'm doing the labor, I'm doing the actual work, I'm fixing this, I'm creating this. I have the skill. So, for example, why should what do I need this other entity for? And I want to go over some examples of this, why this may be that going off on your own is not always the best thing, or some of the issues that you may face with going on your own. So let's talk about the idea of getting your own truck. Let's just use that simple example. So people say to me, they say, you're a professional furniture repair technician. You could start your own thing, just buy your own truck, and then you can do it. Well, I've been working for a furniture company for several years, and they give me my own van. And with a fuel card, they pay for the gas and repairs, maintenance, things like that. I have to bring it in for maintenance and check on it, but they cover those costs, and that can be typical when you're working for a company. So when you have your own vehicle with your own business, let's go over some of the costs associated with that. You have to maintain your own insurance, of course, your own registration. You have to purchase it. Okay, so that may entail either spending a lot of money for a brand new one if you want to actually purchase it, financing it, which involves financing it. You're already taking on some debt there. Or going to the low end, where you're purchasing an older one, a used one, or financing an older, a used one. Now you're responsible for it. You might have your own vehicle you're already paying insurance on. Now you got to pay insurance for that one too. So there's already costs associated with your business right from the start. Okay, so obviously, if you're in that place where you have capital saved up, it's easier. But even then, you're still making an investment. Already, you've sunk in money into the business that you want to make back. So there we go with that. Already, some of the costs just to start out with. Now, if you put the money up front, you save up, and you get a brand new one, of course your costs of maintenance are going to be lower. You don't have to stress about it breaking down as much, and just dealing with that side of it. So of course, as always, if you start out from that place with a proper amount of investment and you're comfortable just getting that new car and truck, that's better for you. And also, not only that, it's the look of it. Believe it or not, it's a big deal what you show up on. When you drive up into that driveway or whatever, if it's a commercial establishment, and people see a well-kept, a shiny new truck or van, that's their first impression of you. That's what they're seeing you drive up in. The same with uniforms. Listen, I've driven up to people in really bad old cars, and I've driven up in nice shiny vans, and it really makes a difference. I can tell you that has been a factor in starting off well and not starting off well with people, with customers. So already there, you have so many of these things to consider, which you wouldn't have to if you work for a company. Okay? So you're I just advise, like, your vehicle is essential. If you're going out on your own, you want to do the entrepreneur thing. I mean, it's essential. Don't disregard it. Okay, so now you're starting out with one that's not so great because you didn't have the upfront money. But hey, you got to do this. You want to get started. You can't wait any longer to get started with your business. Now, you buy it used. You're taking the chance. Possibly something's wrong with it. And listen, I've had that. And these guys, the salesmen, you try getting in touch with them afterwards. It's already purchased. Good luck sometimes. You're dealing with the used car market. I can tell you from experience, it's sometimes I've been lucky and I've dealt with some great used car salesmen, despite what people think. And I would go back to those guys and highly recommend them. I'm talking to you, Middle Village Motors in Queens, New York. Great guy. There's my experience there. But I've also dealt with some that are extremely sketchy. I could go on and on about that. Some of my experiences there with the used car market. But think about what you're taking on when you go for that. You say, well, I can't, save up. How much longer can I save up to really get a nice new truck that I really want? Well, really, what is the cost associated with that? Now this is going to be your vehicle for work. So we're talking 5-6 days a week. This is what you're using to go back and forth every day. So does it have the appropriate space for the work that you want to do? That's one thing you got to think of, that you wouldn't have to if you work for a company whose job it is to do that for you. Okay? Then you're putting those miles on. That's going to wear the tires. Good tires can be expensive. I've dealt with used tires, and a lot of times it didn't work out for me. Maybe other people have different experiences, but for me, like, a used tire would get me like a month, 2 months, something like that. And then I would just go back to paying $50 for another used tire. Okay, so there's the tires, the tread there. Constant oil changes. You may, if you haven't done this before, you're not used to paying for oil changes that much, but you may be putting on significant miles, so that's more oil changes. Now, if you're transporting heavy things, like in my case, I transported a lot of wood and furniture, that has an effect, and tools too, has an effect on the vehicle too. So I saw what it did over years to the vehicles I had. Especially, there was one point where I was down to just a regular car, like a Nissan Altima, and I mean, it was just destroying the shocks or whatever it is on it. I mean, my car looked lopsided. It was embarrassing. So I had to pay for that to be replaced. And I mean, those tools just weighed it down. Definitely would not recommend doing something like this with a regular car, even if it can fit your tools that you need. So that too, is the vehicle that you have, is it appropriate for the work that you're doing? Are you putting concrete in it? Are you putting bricks in it? Are you putting wood in it? Are you putting furniture? You want to have something that can hold up to that, or you're just going to be back to either shelling out money for repairs or financing a new one or something like that, or you got to borrow money from somebody else for a new vehicle. These are the dangers that you may have when you just think that, well, I'll just go buy, an old F-150 or something like that. So of course, more miles means more maintenance. I mean, that's alternators, starters. You may have to learn how to replace all those things. I definitely did. Brakes, knowing how to change my own brakes, it was very important for saving money. But yeah, you got to take the time out to watch the videos how to do it. You got to stop at AutoZone, and you may not be in a place where you can just go get it fixed, because you got a job the next day, and if you don't do it, you don't get that money. If you have to go to the repair shop and wait there, and then they don't have space for you, then you got to wait another day or something like that, or all those things that's extra money lost. Not only are you losing money on the cost of the repair, but you're losing money from work missed. Okay. So let me see what else there is. I'm just saying how much more complicated it can get when, people just think I'll just be an entrepreneur. These are just some examples right there. I'm trying to think of any others. All these things, if you fall into a tough spot, now you may not be able to afford insurance, registration updates, inspections, things like that. Or I got into a situation where I had a pretty good van. It got into a situation where it was not able to pass inspection, and then you got two options. You can pay a person for a fake inspection card, and who knows how long you want to do that. If you're okay with that, maybe that's a solution. Or you got to get a new vehicle then. So that's all. Now, if you work for a company, you wouldn't have any of that headache. That was just one situation that literally happened to me. I had a short in the electrical of my van, and I went to one mechanic, and they did a bad job repairing it. They just put a new fuse in. The short didn't go away. It kept reappearing. It caused the check engine light to go on, and therefore could not pass inspection. Oh, so that's another thing. Choosing wisely who your mechanic is. Now, I first went to a mechanic that was a regular auto mechanic, not an auto electric specialist. Now, I went to the electric specialist. By that time, it was already too late. And then I was forced to trade in that van, which was already old, get a couple $100, and then just have to spend all my money on a new vehicle, which was not an appropriate vehicle at that point. So, is it that easy? Just go and get a new truck, and you're on your own, and then you're off to start. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not always the case. Again, you have appropriate savings for what you want to do. You're already off to a better spot. And so you go the cheaper route. It may seem like the better option, but look at these costs associated with it. So that's just one example right here. I'm going to talk about some other things too associated with the whole just be your entrepreneur thing. So stay tuned, and I hope this was valuable to you.